have Super Cruise in this, which works very well on interstate highways, major highways, because it does also have automatic lane change built into it. Chevy has been vastly increasing the amount of roads that Super Cruise works on, and I've been very impressed with just how well it works on secondary roads. Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this is a 2025 Chevy Traverse in the High Country trim. This three-row crossover was all new for the 2024 model year, and we are now getting to sample it here as a 2025 version. This completes the trifecta of big three-row crossovers from General Motors. We've tested the Buick Enclave Avenir, the GMC Acadia Denali, and now this one, though this one is front-wheel drive. What makes the Chevy version different than both of those? And would I recommend this over something like a Toyota Grand Highlander? All that and more, stay tuned. Before we get too far into this one, I do want to thank Chevrolet for bringing me the last of the big three crossovers from GM in their new Traverse. As I mentioned earlier, this was all new for 2024, carries over for 2025. This is the High Country trim. There is a trim above this and two below this in the model lineup. It starts with the base LT, then you get Z71, which is only available in all-wheel drive, then this High Country, and it all tops out with the RS that we've already sampled here on the channel. But let's get into what motivates this one. This is a front-wheel drive version, so unlike the other two of the triplets we've already tested here on the channel, this one is motivated only by the front two wheels, but it is still using the same powertrain as its siblings from Buick and GMC. Moving this thing forward, we have a 2.5 liter turbocharged four-cylinder making 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque, mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. And as I mentioned, this particular one is a front-wheel drive model, but you can option all-wheel drive on all trims, though yes, it is standard on the Z71. Fully independent suspension on this, and we do have multiple different drive modes, though we will talk about that and how it drives once we get inside. Something I really appreciate that Chevrolet has done versus the competition from Toyota, gas struts holding the hood up, so no prop rod, really gives this Traverse a premium feel, as do the updated looks. This really does look like a slightly, and I mean slightly, shrunken down 2025 Tahoe, because it really does carry a lot of that truck styling over from its bigger body on frame cousin, sibling in the Chevy SUV lineup. You get these divorced running light turn signals up here, LED headlights down here. I really do like the premium boxy square masculine style of this Traverse, though I would say on this High Country, I don't really know that Chevy has done enough to distinguish it against the base LT. We get the chrome grille with all the chrome accents, but we don't get any of the bronze accents we have seen on previous generations of Tahoe, Suburban, Silverado. So from the front, this does resemble very much an LT version that costs less money than this. And if you're buying the High Country, you really do want to show off to everybody, you got the top trim. As we pan around to the side of the Traverse, you can see the boxy styling does not stop up front. It really is boxy all the way around. And I really do applaud the team at Chevrolet, at General Motors, for leaning in to this styling trend that is sweeping the automotive crossover segment. Boxy is absolutely in, and I think it works here. Again, separating the style of this one versus the LT, you really see more of that coming down the side here, and it does start with these 22-inch wheels. They are black painted with a machine face with this star pattern design, and you can see they are wrapped in Continental CrossContact tires. These are the same tires that are wrapped around the Buick Enclave Avenir we tested and the GMC Acadia Denali. So a very nice wheel tire combo that we'll talk about a little bit more as we get behind the wheel, how it performs both on the highway and on some highly textured East Texas pavement. And as we pull to the full profile of this, I joked that this was a slightly shrunken down Tahoe. It really does slide alongside its bigger body-on-frame sibling very nicely. It is a very large vehicle, both inside and out. And if you are in the market for a Tahoe, you might consider looking at the Traverse to see if maybe that doesn't fit your needs just a little bit better, especially now that they've given it more boxy masculine styling to fit with the trends. I really do see this perhaps stealing some market share away from its own sibling and the sales leader for that body-on-frame segment of the Tahoe. It'll be interesting to see if we have any cannibalization going on there. I do want to come here to the back quarter panel because this is a very unique design that Chevy is also doing throughout its crossover lineup. This shark fin-like C-pillar back behind the back doors that gives way to a little bit of a freeform third row window. It is a cool look. I really like the visual distinction, and I think of this and the GMC version at least, this has the best profile styling of the two. I'd say the Buick is a little bit of a toss-up to me, but this one does really look sharp. As we come around to the back of the vehicle, you can see, much like up front, we get all LED lighting back here. It does do a fun welcome animation as you approach the vehicle with the key in your pocket. You can see that it is a very unique design for Chevrolet versus the twins from GMC and Buick. We have that waterfall-like design. It is a very cool, very sleek look that again emphasizes just how big and boxy this Traverse now is. Really emphasizes the width of it and again just how wide and boxy it is. And then we've got this black cross panel kind of separating it, which again kind of leads into the masculine-esque styling of it. But we do have 360 cameras. You can see that reverse camera back behind the bow tie, but there is another camera up here underneath the rear spoiler for the rear view camera mirror that I'm sure we'll talk about when we get inside. Separating this from the LT, we do have High Country badging here on the back, but interestingly enough, we don't get that on the side either. So very few indicators that this is anything different than the base LT. I feel like they could have done just a little bit more to separate it from the base model, especially given that it really isn't the top trim like it is in Tahoe and Suburban, which is a bit odd. We do have a power liftgate back here that does have Chevy's new proximity key smart open function, but you can also open it the old-fashioned way with a electronic button underneath the bow tie there. The keyless hands-free opening does work through a proximity key that you keep in your pocket or purse. You just walk up to the back of the vehicle. It'll beep 3 times at you and then it will open up, much like what we've seen from Hyundai, from Kia for quite some time. But I will say, from having this feature on several General Motors products here lately, it does work a whole lot faster and under more circumstances than the keys from Hyundai and Kia. I will go ahead and pull up to the back here and point out that the cargo space in this is quite impressive. My backpack is actually in the vehicle back behind the third row of seats right now, but you can't tell because as I open this false load floor, boom, there is my backpack. This is large enough for a couple of small carry-on roller bags, a few backpacks, whatever the case may be. It really is impressive just how much cargo space Chevrolet has gotten in the back of this Traverse. Underneath my backpack here, you can see we can just unscrew those nuts right there. And we do have an 18-inch spare. So yes, temporary use spare hidden underneath the rear cargo. Heaven forbid you have this loaded down for a vacation and need to get to that spare, but it's nice to know it is down there if you need it. And I really do like how that cargo cover, that false load floor, does stay up without you having to hold on to it. Very nice feature. You can see we have top tethers all the way across, 4 child seats back here in the third row. We'll talk more about that when we get inside. If you need more storage space than this configuration allows, we do have these buttons right here for a power fold third row, but that does not come without a few caveats, and I will go ahead and show you right here exactly what I mean. It seems that General Motors has prioritized second row legroom over overall convenience and ease of use. You can slide those second row seats far enough back that you run into this problem right here. You can see Tucker's car seat is there on the passenger side in the second row, and it is slid all the way back to give him the most space. But now this third row of seats do not fold down completely. There just isn't enough room for it. Whereas if you have this seat moved forward just a smidge, you do have enough room. So it really is one of those things where they did prioritize second row leg space over third row space. And it is just curious to me that I'm now going to have to walk around to the side of the vehicle and manually slide that second row seat forward to fully fold down that third row of seats. But it does extend my cargo space rather nicely, and I can do it again by pressing that button right there and folding the second row of seats down. But you can see again, this seat is slightly far enough back that the friction of the headrest from the third row on the back of the second row is keeping this from folding down completely. So odd packaging here inside when it comes to extending the cargo space. This is perhaps something they can figure out over time, just with reconfiguring how these seats fold potentially, or just giving them maybe stronger motors. I'm not quite sure, stronger springs, something like that, but it is quite inconvenient when things don't work as they should from back here. And unfortunately, unlike some competitors, I cannot power fold that second row of seats up. It's now stuck like that if I only want to be back here in the back. So that is a slight miscalculation by Chevrolet engineers. However, coming to me at 5'10" underneath the cargo hatch, not a miscalculation, just how much space I have underneath this programmable rear hatch. You can program how wide it opens through the touchscreen. Chevy has put a lot of controls through the touchscreen. Your lights are through there, your HomeLink controls are through there. There's a lot going on through the touchscreen that we'll touch on here in a little bit, but I really do like at its full opening height, I've got plenty of room at 5'10", though 6 foot and up, you might be bumping your head a little bit, but we've had some body on frame, more expensive crossovers and SUVs have not had this amount of clearance. So I really do like the overall usability of this. And you can see it is a power close, just like it was power open. With the push of that button, you get a couple beeps as it starts moving. So if you push it, you better not be directly underneath it. Before we climb in this one, I did want to show you the key. Typical Chevy proximity key, all your necessary buttons here: lock, unlock, remote start, hatch release, panic button, and you can deploy a physical key from it if you have to. I really like it. I like that we have a dedicated remote start, unlike the Toyota Grand Highlander. Just makes it so much easier, and you can start it under almost any circumstance. But you can just keep that in your pocket, your purse, wherever you keep your keys, because this does have the proximity access on the sides on all 4 doors. This is not a passive system, so you can't just grab the handle and open it like other brands and other manufacturers. You actually have to push this button here to lock and unlock it. The way it is currently configured is if you push that button on the driver's door once, it unlocks just the driver's door. And you can see we do have this on all other doors. So if I wanted to load a kid in the back, I absolutely could. Just coming up to the back door, I don't have to unlock it from the front and then go to the back. But since I have unlocked it from that rear door, you can see all 4 doors are now unlocked. And we do get this jet black and sky cool gray exclusive interior to the high country trim. We do have some bronze accents throughout the interior that were lacking from the exterior, particularly the wheels and grille, like we see on some other Chevy products. We'll start here on the door panels. We've got this sky cool gray, soft padded armrest here, soft materials all around, which I really like. And then you can see these bronze accents start on this carbon fiber like design here on the front panel that does go all the way across the front of the dash on this. I really like how it just gives some visual interest to the interior of this Traverse. You can see right here, we do have 2-person memory seats, mirror lock and unlock right there. And then we have all our window and mirror controls right here. Only express up down on the driver's window, not on all four. That is a very interesting omission in this vehicle, which for all intents and purposes is $55,000 as equipped. Just odd that they don't put it on all four windows. You can see we do have powerful mirrors, so we have that there. And I like the lack of gloss black plastic, at least here on the doors. We'll talk more about that in a moment. We do have some storage here and some additional storage down here. Here we have the button for the rear hatch. Again, I told you it is power programmable, but that is through the screen. Coming to the seats here, we do have multi-way adjustments with 4-way lumbar, which I really like. And then taking a look at the seat design and the material. These are leather seating materials, seating sections here on the seats. And they are heated, they are ventilated, so yes, they are perforated. And then I like all the bronze accenting on this one. That really does lean into the high country trims from other models in Chevy's lineup. I just wish they'd do a little bit more both inside and out, but it does give a nice overall design to the seat, unlike the top RS trim where you really only get the black with red stitching option, which I like how light and airy this makes the interior. As we come inside and close the door and get out of all that chilly wind that we had outside, you can see here that we have a fully digital display in front of us that is borrowed from other other Chevy crossovers and SUVs. We have an 11-inch screen here and a 17.7-inch freeform display here. We first saw this combination in the Blazer EV, but now we've seen it in practically all new Chevy crossover products, including the new Tahoe and Suburban. So if you don't like this design, well, maybe you look at Buick or GMC or even competitors from Hyundai, Kia, and Toyota. We'll go ahead and put our foot on the brake. Our engine start button is back behind the steering wheel here, and you will see it all comes to life. As it gets done dinging and chiming at us, you can see we do have a fairly easy to read, though slightly cumbersome gauge cluster back here. Very familiar to anyone who has driven a modern Chevrolet vehicle. You can pan through a few different options with this button on the steering wheel here. First and foremost, we have got Google Maps. Then we've got our Apple Maps, because I do have Apple CarPlay connected. And then we've got our driver assistance screen here. And then we have a very simplified view so that it is not overly complicated. This is the view that would be best for someone hopping in the vehicle for the first time. Hit it once more, you go back to the more or less standard view that you would come to expect in vehicles. We'll start over my left knee here and go through some of the controls. I did mention this one being a front wheel drive, so we don't get the all-wheel drive button, but we do have the defeat for the automatic start-stop that helps theoretically with fuel economy and stop and go traffic. We also get our drive mode button here. As with the siblings, it is very far removed from the screens that's actually telling you what drive mode you're in. So the button is here, but you have to look all the way over here to the 17.7-inch screen to see your 4 drive modes. So we have normal, sport, snow, tow haul, and normal. Yeah, I said normal twice. My apologies. But there you go. You can pan through all of them. You get some nice animations here. But generally, I just find it slightly annoying, and I mean slightly annoying, that the button's here, but you have to look all the way over here. So just slightly annoying. You may have noticed and may still notice these lights here on the steering wheel. This does have Chevy's Super Cruise system. It's hands-free driver assistance on pre-mapped highways. It does also work on secondary roads. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get out and moving. But I've got cameras here and here, keeping an eye on me, making sure I'm paying attention to what the vehicle is doing. All that is accessed through this button right here, but all your ADAS driver assistance stuff is located here. We have volume and tuning on the back side of the steering wheel, as well as paddle shifters for that 8-speed automatic. As we pull over here to that 17.7-inch freeform display, this is perhaps the biggest differentiator between the Buick and the GMC versions, in that the Buick had a slightly slimmer, not as tall display, but it was one continuous 27-inch freeform design. This is two separate screens here in the Chevy. And then the GMC still had the 11-inch here, but it was more rectangular in its overall design. But we had a 15-inch, more tablet-style vertical display in the GMC. Here we get this wide freeform. You can see it doesn't conform to any rectangular design here, even though my Apple CarPlay section does. So the usable real estate of the screen is less than 17.7. I'm calling a little bit of BS on that because you can see this area over here that doesn't do a whole lot is counted in that 17.7 inches of screen real estate. It doesn't start here and go diagonally. It starts all the way over here with this wasted space. And we do have a volume knob right here that, interestingly enough, the volume icon only pops up when you turn it, and if you wait a little bit, it goes away. Interesting. I'm not quite sure why that is. And if someone is riding shotgun and playing DJ, for them to turn up the volume or turn it down, they're going to have to reach all the way across this large screen. Just some weird ergonomic issues I've noticed from living with this one for a week. You can see we actually have tri-zone automatic climate controls standard across the Traverse lineup, which I really like, but most of the controls are here on the screen. We do get some physical redundant controls down here that eliminate the need for screens here inside the knobs. So we get the display here on the screen. We also get heated and ventilated front row seats. We actually get heated second row captain's chairs. I like that a lot, but you can see redundant controls here, and I feel like Chevy is leaning away from, you used to be able to do a heated backrest only, but now this is heat for seat and backrest altogether, or ventilation. No separation of the backrest from the seat bottom, which is something I'm actually kind of sad to see go as I'm approaching 40. Other controls here on the screen, all your lighting controls are accessed through this quick access button. Some other quick access controls can be accessed here, your dome lights, your cameras, auto park assist, but you can see even more controls right here. Again, you can see your home controls, drive and park, your lights, your doors and windows. This is how you do adjustable cargo height gate, how you do your window lockout for rear seat passengers. I don't know, I just feel it's a little bit cumbersome for a family vehicle to have to go through the screen here for things on the prior generation that had physical buttons. You let me know down in the comments what you think about everything being put now into this screen. While we are talking about this screen, I'll go ahead and put the Google map on the screen, and you can see just how gracious it is with screen real estate, as opposed to the Apple Maps that doesn't quite fill up that same space. So just a slight differentiation there between the two, the built-in versus what you get through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which you still get in gas-powered Chevrolets, though you do not get this in EVs from Chevy. Get a few other quick access buttons like your home. You can go to your ambient lighting, things like that. All your different settings can be configured here. We'll also go to vehicle status where you can see your trip computer. Again, that is buried in this screen. You can't even display it over here, which I find to be a slight omission because it could be put over here or over here. I think you can do it if you spend some additional time. Future me, why don't you go ahead and put that on the screen for the viewers so that we can talk about that down in the comments. Yes, see, add to driver display, boom, there it is. But again, it's just all in the screen here. Used to, you would be able to configure what is displayed up here from the steering wheel. Now you have to like stop and dig through menus. It's just not my favorite. So I don't know. I'm nitpicking here. I really am. I do like this vehicle platform. There are just some things I feel like it do a little bit better. One thing I really do like is the fact that you can hold and bring stuff up here for quick access across the top, which is what I did for my 360 cameras. You can see we have a nice view around us. We can also see in front of us and down this side of the vehicle. So multiple different camera angles here in the Traverse. I really like that. And I like that we've got that quick access button. I can rearrange these. I can put them wherever I want. I can remove it if I want to. I really do like that a lot. You can see we've got quite a bit of stuff to slide through here, including my Chevrolet, your built-in Wi-Fi, things like that. That is not all for the screens in this because I do have that rear view camera mirror. The camera is again back where I showed you on that back hatch. Where we don't have a screen is right here in front of me. You would think with this big cutout panel right here that we would have head-up display, but the Chevy Traverse does not offer head-up display on any trim, including that top RS, even here on the High Country, which given its name, you would think it would. And the reason that panel is there is because this dash panel is shared with the Buick version, but not the GMC. The GMC gets a very unique dash setup for the Acadia. But yes, we get this cover-up panel. We still get the indicator lights for your driver assistance, your warnings, and things like that up front, but no head-up display available here on the Traverse on any trim. And then again, we have that carbon fiber look with the bronze baked into it. We get soft touch materials, but they do leave a little bit to be desired. They're nice to look at, but don't touch. As we move further down, you can see we've got a nice glove box here that is damped but not lined with felt. We've got some storage there in the doors like I showed you over there. Again, just a repeat of how comfortable these front seats are. We do have some nice center storage here with this center console that does lock into its opening. And then we have this removable panel or cubby here. It is rubber lined. I like that a lot. But sadly, we get gloss black plastic here, though I do feel this panel is going to spend most of its time open because one, it is gloss black. Two, you're going to want to see what you've got stored in here with a rubberized bottom here. So if you do put stuff, hard plastics in here, it's not going to rattle around. I like that. And you can hide whatever it is underneath there if you want. Couple of cup holders here, Qi wireless charger up here, though I don't like how it's in the center, taking up all of the storage space up here. I wish it were offset like we get in the Buick, like we get in the GMC. It feels a little bit like we're wasting space up here. We do have a USB-C, USB-A, and a cigarette lighter style outlet up here for additional power, all of which I like. And then some additional storage down below here with this pass-through that works well for purses, for bags. You can see our go bag is stored down here. We have a lot of stuff hidden throughout. Storage really is a hallmark of this Traverse. We do not have the panoramic sunroof in this one that we had in the Buick and the GMC versions. That is a standalone $1,500 option, but we'll talk more about some of the differences as we move back to the second row, but plenty of headroom up front here. I like it a lot. And up here, this is where the controls would be for that pano sunroof if we had it. Then we have some sunglass storage up here if we need it. But now let's take a look at the second and third rows and see just how much space we have back there for adults. All right, I lamented a lot about the second row seats and what the engineers had chosen to do with the packaging, and you're going to see it right here. Tucker's seat over there with the car seat in place is all the way back. This driver's side second row seat is moved forward slightly to allow the third row of seats to fold down flat and completely. And you can see, we'll talk about legroom here in just a moment. As we come to the door panel, we get more of that sky cool gray. We get a much larger cutout right here for grabbing and pulling the door shut and storing some items. We do have a rubberized mat underneath here. No sunshades in the doors back here, which I feel like is a slight miss in a family vehicle of this nature. And then we do get some storage down here low in the door. Some chrome accents as well. The seats back here, as I mentioned earlier, are leather covered in the seating materials. They're perforated, but they are only heated back here. They somewhat echo the same design from up front, but you can see we do have some cutouts down here for the lower latch points. We get those bronze accents, and we get this shrunken head feeling headrest compared to the larger headrests up front. I don't know, it just seems comically small given how boxy and rectangular the seat back is. But we'll go ahead and climb in behind myself at 5'10". I will note we do have this B-pillar mounted handle that is in a really good spot for those who may need it climbing in. Sitting behind myself at 5'10", where this seat is furthest back to allow for the third row of seats to fold flat, I'm good on a rear space, but go ahead and reach down here and slide the seat back fully, now I've got tons of legroom. So again, I do feel like the engineers prioritized this over being able to fold those third row of seats down and not have to worry about anything else from the way back. You can see here we have a couple of cup holders on the back of the center console because we do not get a center console in between the captain's chairs here. We do get a couple of armrests that fold down but do not ratchet into place, so it's either down or up for these armrests. They're nice though, I really like them. But I would like to see perhaps a center console here on the high country trim at least. As I mentioned up front, we do have tri-zone automatic climate control in all models of the 25 Traverse, which is very nice. So you can control that completely from back here. And our high country model does have 3-stage heated seat cushions back here in the second row. We do have a couple of USB-C power points back here, as well as a 3-prong power outlet, household style right here. We do have some storage down here with a rubberized mat, so we can hide some cables or things if we've got, say, a game system plugged in back here. Though we don't have any screens in this model, so maybe that's not what you're using to plug into that 3-prong plug. Not quite sure. We do have additional storage here on the backs of the front seats in some mat pockets, which I really like. And moving up, I talked about this not having the big panoramic glass roof. So we get these round air vents more or less in front of each passenger back here versus the horizontal rectangular ones that we see when we get the sunshade and sunroof. Just a little bit of part sharing that we see the same thing in Tahoe and Suburban with and without that panoramic roof. I like it well enough. It does help get air into a front or rear facing car seat. If you want to see me put this in, be sure and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell down below. We will do a full family review where I will put this in not only here, but also in the third row. Coming to me, before we climb in that third row, headroom is aplenty back here, a little bit less than what we get up front because I do have stadium-like style seating here. I am sitting up just a little bit higher than that front seat, but plenty of space back here. And again, with my seat in either position, I had plenty of legroom. So no major complaints there. One thing I really do like about what Chevy has done on both the driver and passenger seat now is this button right here. But before I press it, I do want to show you these seats do in fact fold flat when there isn't that friction of the headrest back behind the second row of seats. So you do get this nice carpeted seat back right here, nice flat surface for extra cargo. But this button, what does it do? It allows for access into that third row of seats. You can see it power releases and then slides forward, but maintains its shape for if you do have a car seat in place. But please check your owner's manual of both the vehicle and the car seat before doing this regularly. Make sure everything is approved for it. But now you can see the third row of seats. We do have seating all the way across for 3 in this back seat, but no lower latch points. We did have top tethers all the way across, but no lower latch points, which we're seeing more and more of in third row vehicles, especially in this class. Pathfinder's got them, Santa Fe and Palisade from Hyundai, Sorento and Telluride from Kia. So I do feel like this is an omission, but yeah, go to our family review to see the full install there of child seats in all rows here. But climbing back here as a nearly 40-year-old adult, I've messed up the carpet back here. We do have a carpeted floor mat back here, which I like, but it is fairly easy to climb back here, and I still have at least as much headroom as I had in the second row of seats. I'm not bunking my head back here. I'm actually very pleased with how much space I have. And coming to the side here, my knees are not up underneath my chin. It is a very good sitting position. I'm very comfortable. I've got this nice armrest here with cup holders and storage. I have USB-C power back here, so I am very comfortable. Though these do power fold, they don't recline. So this is the sitting position I'm going to be in. And I've got a decent rear window back here, but this angle from the shark fin does mean I'm kind of like leaning back to get the full view. Just like in the second row, we have these round vents just in front of me for air back here, so fairly comfortable all the way around. But I bet you're curious what happens when I pull that second row seat back. So it's going to lock into place again where it is most convenient to fold this seat down. Again, that means I've also got a decent amount of space in this current configuration. My knees are touching. Again, I'm 5'10", so people taller than me might have a problem back here. But again, 3 rows of seats, there's space that could be negotiated. This is a large vehicle all the way around. I can also get out with the push of that button right there, which slides it forward. But Tucker's car seat over here is in its furthest back position. And you can see, yes, I can fit back here, but I'm gonna have to man spread just a little bit. Luckily, it's just captain's chairs, so my left knee does have a place to go. But yes, it's a little more snug back here with the second row of seats all the way back. That is enough of a tour of this one. Let's hop behind the wheel, see how this thing performs, see how quick it is, and just generally talk about how it drives and behaves after a week of living with this one. Before we get going in this one, I do want to acknowledge we will be acceleration testing this one. And I am expecting, because it is front-wheel drive, better fuel economy numbers, but I'm curious what it'll do to my overall acceleration. I'm in normal mode right now. I am gonna brake torque it and see full on the brake, full on the throttle, and let's go. No wheel spin, no drama. A little bit of noise coming from under the hood. 7.21 seconds 0 to 60. That is in normal mode, front wheel drive, with a little bit of brake torque. We will test this a couple more times at the end, but I will say I'm a little more impressed by those acceleration numbers than what I experienced in the all-wheel drive GMC Acadia. Again, we'll see exactly what that's like at the end of the test. Otherwise, driving this one around as we have for a couple 100 miles here since we've had this one this week, I will say it is just as comfortable as both of the other luxury trims that share the same platform in the GMC Acadia Denali and the Buick Enclave Avenir. I have been very impressed with the overall ride, handling, and performance of this one. We'll start with the engine. I lamented in both of the other vehicles on this platform, they sound not really befitting that vehicle. And I think it fits a little more with this Chevrolet because Chevy is a little bit more of the everyman vehicle. It does sound a little trucky here inside the cabin, but given this more truck-like design that we see here in the updated Traverse, I'd say it fits well. Now, this isn't trying to be an upscale luxury product, though the High Country is the more luxurious trim of the Traverse. I'd say it fits more here in the Traverse with its overall sound than it did in either of those other two trims. So I'd say it fits just fine. And then the overall power of it works very nicely. I haven't felt like this has been overly sluggish in my week's worth of testing. It's done grocery getting, it's done school pickup lines. It really has been the workhorse for our family this week. And I've appreciated just how well it works. The 8-speed automatic transmission, which is accessed through this gear lever here on the steering column, has been fine. I have not felt the need to do the paddle shifters while we've had it. I've never felt that it's really hunting for gears. I haven't really even felt it stutter in stop and go traffic. It's worked very well for me. I've got no complaints on the powertrain of this one. For the weather that we've had while we've had this one, ice, snow, that we had the all-wheel drive version. Though I have lamented on the all-wheel drive versions, it is a driver selectable option. So here in East Texas, we typically don't need all-wheel drive traction. And in the Chevy GM products with all-wheel drive on their crossovers, it is a button that you're going to have to push. It will tell you, hey, you need all-wheel drive traction, push the button, but it won't do it for you. Otherwise, driving this around, I talked about the 22-inch wheels and tires on this particular model. They're doing a very good job not only holding the line that I choose to drive, but not communicating a lot of road noise here into the cabin. Also not communicating a lot of bumps in the road. Typically on larger wheels, you feel more of the pavement imperfections underneath you because there's less rubber, less sidewall on the tire to soak up some of the bumps. But I would say between the suspension in this, which is not an adaptive suspension like we saw on some of the other trims in the GM lineup, I'd say it is doing a very good job of just being a comfortable family crossover. And it holds the heft and weight of this big 3-row vehicle quite well. Yes, it does have a sport mode, but no, you're not going to be driving this like a sports car around curvy roads like this here in East Texas. But I would say it does the job of making you feel confident behind the wheel quite well. I am getting a little body roll. I'm sure passengers riding with me would lament maybe some of the speed in which you can take corners in this on curvy, twisty roads like this. But generally for me, I have no complaints on how this handles curves, how this handles all sorts of different pavement, different driving situations. It really has been a comfortable vehicle for me for the time in which we've had it. You can see we aren't floaty over bumps, but it does mask imperfections in the road quite well. We've gone over railroad tracks in this. We've gone over brick streets in this. I'd say it really does have a very good suspension underneath it for what is demanded of a vehicle like this one. Again, this isn't a sport vehicle in any shape, even though, yes, we do have a sport mode, which I will go ahead and put it in because we are nearing the end of the drive of this, and I am curious what this will do under hard acceleration when we test it at the end of the video. One last thing to bring up with this is, again, we do have Super Cruise in this, which works very well on interstate highways, major highways, because it does also have automatic lane change built into it. But Chevy has been vastly increasing the amount of roads that Super Cruise works on, and I've been very impressed with just how well it works on secondary roads, even here throughout East Texas, not getting onto I-20, which is our major interstate through the area. So a lot of really good features in this. I'd say Super Cruise is the best hands-free driver assistance that there is, followed perhaps by some Hyundai Kia products, if only the lawyers would turn them loose and allow them to call it hands-free and work more hands-free than it does. With Super Cruise, though, we get GM's safety seat in this. So this does have lane keep, lane trace, lane, all of the things, lane departure warning, and I'll get buzzes in the seats for a lot of safety things, and that does come alongside of the addition of Super Cruise in this one. But we are nearing the end of my test loop, so now I want to see what this is like now in hard acceleration in sport mode, and then I will turn around, come again, going in the other direction without brake torquing it, and see what that looks like under hard acceleration. But here we go. We come to a full stop. We are going uphill slightly, so that may make my acceleration a little bit worse than the 721 we experienced earlier. Full on the brake, full on the accelerator, drop the brake, and we are off. No wheel slippage. It's doing a very good job. It is strong. It is pulling hard. And what do we have? 7.7 flat. So yeah, a little bit slower there in sport mode, which is interesting to say the least. I am seeing that more and more in crossovers with sport mode. I know these aren't meant for drag racing, but you would imagine sport mode would be the quickest. Now, I'm gonna do something just a little bit different. I am not going to brake torque it going this direction. We are going downhill slightly, but just showing you the range of acceleration to expect in real world scenarios. Full on the brake right now, but I'm gonna lift up and mash the accelerator. Ready, set, go. There we did get some wheel spin from the front tires, but I think this is my best run to date. Yep, 7.09 flat. So yes, brake torquing it, not where it's at in this one. The quickest acceleration is just mashing the throttle. So, good to know. Thank you to the commenters who suggested maybe I try not brake torquing it at least once. Otherwise, I've been impressed with my time in this one. Plenty of room for people and cargo, very good suspension, very good driving dynamics and characteristics. If you are in the market for a big 3-row Chevy and the body-on-frame Tahoe is either too big, too thirsty, or just not what you are looking for, maybe you look at the Chevy Traverse and consider what that would be like in your family, in your driveway, in your garage, because this does fit in our 1963 built 2 single bay door garage a whole lot better than a Tahoe would or something of comparable size. The overall packaging on the inside, though, I think is better here because it is a crossover versus a body-on-frame Tahoe. Take that for what it is. If you do want to see more from us, including what Holly thinks of this one, which there are some surprising revelations from her versus the Buick and the GMC we've recently tested, be sure and hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you are notified when that video drops. Find us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, you name it, all at GT Garage Talk. Or you can go to gtgaragetalk.com where you'll find links to everything that we do. But as for me, in the 2025 Chevy Traverse High Country front-wheel drive, until next time, gearheads, bye.